Do you think UFOs, the paranormal, weird history, cryptozoology, and outsider art are pretty darn cool? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to High Strangeness with your host, Steve Berg.
The video version.
I will do a traditional intro. I just said I wasn't going to. We're
you
live.
started talking. Well, first of all, we're not live.
We're live.
You just started
from
talking
New York
from
City.
the countdown. No, there's a countdown, and you started talking. You started like doing behind the scenes chat with a clock for some reason. You were like,
I did.
Here's what we'll do.
Well, folks, as you can tell, welcome. Actually, not as you can tell. I'm not great at intros, and I never have been. You can attest for that.
But
folks,
what's great about your intro is how it's not even an intro, really.
it's not. It's not.
You think we're live? You're saying folks.
Well, I did say, folks. Well, Gareth, I'm trying
You're like
not to.
Willard Scott in his 40s.
Yes.
Okay.
No, you nailed it. That is my tone. Yeah, I'm like a weird Willard Scott.
Yeah.
No one's gonna know who that
Will
is.
Weird Scott.
Well, he was like the Good Morning America guy, right?
He was either Today Show or Good Morning America, and he was like the weather guy, but then it was like it became a little too kitschy, and then he just basically would shout out old people on
For Smucker's jelly.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. I remember like
yeah,
Did he have? I mean, like, was that Inside Baseball? Did he have a hand in Smucker's jelly?
Do you mean literally?
Yeah. No, I mean, well, figuratively.
I'm gonna
more.
eat a jar of Smuckers while we talk about Grace, who's 106 today. What are you doing, Grace? Like Winnie the Poohing jelly into his mouth. I don't know if there. I mean, you're trying to go the high strangeness. I don't know if he had a stake in Smuckers or not.
I feel like he did. Also, I've heard some good rumors that he's still alive and faked his own death.
I mean, this is just.
I'm kidding about that. But It could be.
He's living with Elvis.
Well, first off, it would be amazing if someone went to the trouble to make up a conspiracy about Willard Scott faking his own death.
What would be great is if he's still alive and he's like 106 and he's just in a room going like, and today Willard Scott is 106. How did he do it? How did he pull it off?
Just jelly all over the room.
Just covered in jelly.
Folks, welcome to another episode of High Strangeness. Today, my guest coming at you live from New York City, Gareth Reynolds. We love Gareth. Gareth is one of my oldest and dearest friends. You may know him from the We're Here to Help podcast. You may know him from the Dollop. You may know him from every city in America and the world doing stand-up comedy, making folks laugh and smile. Gareth, my friend, how are we today?
Hi, Steven. Good. How are you? Yeah, what a great intro. Lovely.
Thanks. I nailed it. One take.
Yeah. And we're live, so there was no other option. I'm good, bud. I'm good. I'm getting ready to go on the road for a couple weeks, so.
Yeah, 2 weeks. And, we're going to get into that, but, like, you were my most liminal friend. Just put a pin in that. We're going to break that down a little bit later because you are on the move. You are a shark. If you slow down for an hour, I've seen you just dry up like a snail.
I husk.
Like a snail.
All right, I'll push back a little, but let's. By the way, it rained here. When it rains, does this happen everywhere when it rains? I believe that it does, but worms just misjudge. Like it rained here yesterday, and then I walk outside, and I'm like, these poor bastards. What was their plan?
Well, it's interesting. My friend Kendall, about 2 weeks ago, said, like, what's the deal with earthworms? Why aren't they there anymore?
Did she do it in a Seinfeld voice?
What's the deal with earthworms? But it is true. I feel like earthworms might have. They're dying off because we're killing them, or
they're like, I'm not loving what they got going on there. They're like, they know about Doge. They're like, don't go up there. They're doging.
I feel like that's probably. I'm not a scientist. I mean,
well, yeah, you don't need to say
not.
that. No, nowhere near it.
I mean, I know more.
No. Stop. Just, I'm not a scientist. Will do.
But I mean, I think. Look, I'm a man of science, and there's something
I'm sorry.
behind
I'm going to jump it
thing.
again. No, you're not.
Gareth, I wonder if the listeners might be curious about how we know each other.
I
always
think
when I have a connection
origin.
with a guest, I always like to say, like, hey, how do we know each other? We didn't meet at a UFO conference. We didn't meet at a cryptozoological. Oh my
Zoological.
God. Thank you. See, look at you. You've been listening to me all these years.
I know when my babe needs a tongue lift.
list. Gareth has always been my tongue caddy.
Yeah, you know what? I'd use maybe a hard T instead of the S here, Steve.
Well, these Gareth and Jake and most of my friends like to have a little fun with my list, but they think it's real cute.
It's awesome.
Speaking of, maybe before we get into how we know each other, you do an actual pretty solid impression of me. Now it's a little cartoonish, but why don't you give
It
the
has to be.
Well, yeah. I mean, give
you'll
everyone
be,
a little flavor.
Yeah, sure. You know, you'll be by a pool with Berg, maybe a couple beers deep. Maybe the day before there were some psychedelics, and you'll say something about like, I saw these crazy owls last night, like flying from tree to tree, and he'll go, you know, a lot of owls in this neighborhood are actually indigenous to mountain culture. So when they're coming down, they are looking not only for prey, but if it's mating season, they're trying to study the topography. No, I'm serious. Of Joshua Tree. I'm serious.
I think actually that's a direct quote from me from
Yes.
7 years ago.
I have it. It's a concrete tablet above my desk.
Well, like I was saying, we recorded with your co-host and colleague and great friend Jake Johnson yesterday, and Jake and I, we both met at the Improv Olympic, and Jake and I met at the Improv Olympic, but you and I met at the Improv Olympic West in Los Angeles too.
And I would guess you probably knew Jake before me by a hair, would be my guess.
Maybe just by a hair, but not much. I mean, it was within the same year. It was like that 2004 era.
What a year.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, we met at I went to college at Emerson, and I had a bunch of friends who had kind of moved out, and we started doing Andy Dick.
Sorry,
what's the opposite of a name drop? Andy Dick. He got us into the Improv Olympic. We were at a shithole theater, and he got us into the Improv Olympic. And then while we were there, I was like, oh, I'm going to start taking classes. If you interned, you could take free classes.
Yep.
So I did that. You worked one night a week. I worked in the box office. And you were big shit because you were the intern manager.
I was the house manager.
Oh, the house manager. You were also an intern.
Which just meant basically I would like just drink. I allowed myself to drink all night and smoke
By
grass
the way,
in the job.
everyone was drinking.
We were all drunk.
Everyone was drinking.
Yeah.
I will say the box office did require sobriety until the very end to some extent, but I ate Popeye's chicken every Monday night before my shift.
We were real junk people back then. Very poor.
Yeah.
Very poor.
Poor,
very
trashy.
Poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were trashy. We were very trashy.
Yeah.
But it was not love at first sight for both of us.
No, it was not. It was.
You would not give me the time of day. You were not impressed by me.
Well, first of all, listen to the attitude on the house manager demanding that I bend the knee. But I knew you didn't like me. I could just tell you didn't like me, so I was kind. No, that's not true. No, I liked you. I just could tell you didn't like me.
No.
And when someone doesn't like me, and I know it, I don't handle it very well. I don't think most people do, and so I would, I'd probably be like trying to, be cool to you in ways, and you'd be like, yeah, this guy needs to shut the fuck up, and I could just tell. And you didn't like how I smoked cigarettes because I'd go out and I'd smoke. Hold on, let me say.
Okay.
Because we had two different brands.
We did.
I smoked Parliament Lights, which are a regular cigarette that go the regular time of a cigarette, and you would smoke American Spirit bomb wicks, and they would take 15 minutes to fit. So I'd be like, dude, I came out here for six minutes max, and you're on a 15-minute trip of an American Spirit.
You were also staring into your giant cell phone at the time.
What is you should not hate that. Yeah, I would not. I wouldn't. I didn't want a phone that had any capabilities other than phone calls.
Well, because it was 2004, I don't think we had a choice back then.
No, you could. No,
this is
texting.
Pre-BlackBerry.
No, but texting was a thing. Texting had started, and I was hanging in there with this sort of Vietnam, like walkie-talkie phone.
It was amazing. It was
and
so
big.
I loved it. It took 2 hands to hold.
and I loved it. And I remember when one of them broke, I had to find another one on like eBay.
Yeah.
And the guy who was selling it was like, yeah, for sure. I was like, $3? He was like, great. That's a fucking steal for me.
It is a steal for you. Okay, Gareth, I want to, but the thing is, you and I became quick friends when I came over to record a EP for my band, Civilized Satanists, with your roommate Adam Muller.
Mm-hmm.
And we were making a wonderful punk EP. And you and I, we ate some pot brownies. And then
I don't
you
even
and
remember what
I-
they were, but you and I don't know what his deal was, but he didn't eat any, and you and I really got high on edibles.
Yeah. And then within an hour, all of a sudden we were like,
We were chums.
we were like war buddies.
Yeah, we became. And I had the phone for it.
Yeah.
But we were tight as shit, and then since then it's just been pure love.
Pure love. It really
Yeah.
has been.
Yeah, you are truly. I'm trying to think, like, as far as LA friends, there's nobody who touches Steve Berg.
Oh,
It's
you
just-
stop it.
It's
you
true.
Stop it. Well, I mean, you know, I feel like we're brothers. We're related. You're like we could play brothers in something.
Well, we have.
That's true.
We played brothers in my movie.
I literally just played your older brother in a movie.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited. Maybe I don't know if we can talk about that at all, but that would
Sure.
be fun. I'm so excited too. But first, before that, folks, I want to let you know this on High Strangers. If you're a listener to this show, you will notice that one of our favorite states to discuss is Wisconsin. We've done 2 episodes in Wisconsin. I just recorded a 3rd one. But our buddy Gareth is from Milwaukee. Actually, to be more specific, Brown Deer, which is
right.
a great name for a town. What's Brown Deer like?
It was like on the edge of like it was kind of trashy-ish.
Nice.
But it was also, I loved it. I mean, like I would walk. I mean, I just like used to just walk everywhere.
Yeah.
I used to walk, like when I was a teenager, I'd walk like probably 3 miles to the bowling alley to buy cigarettes out of a vending
Yes.
machine.
Oh, it was so easy back then.
Yeah, I had an A&W root beer down the street from me growing up that I could
What?
walk to. It eventually became a Sammy's Express Euros.
No, could you buy jugs of root beer? I remember in the 80s,
I don't know.
you could buy jugs of root beer at those
I just
silly
remember
places.
everyone knows they had the roller skate, women thing, but my family and I would go inside and we would do you had a phone to call in your order. Remember that?
Oh, yes.
It was the
I
best.
love
It was
that.
It was like the dumbest tech, but it was so great. So you'd just be like, yeah, what's up? All right, here's what I'm looking for, and you'd be at your table. It was like awesome. But it was a small town. I had like I lived like right near a nice chunk of woods, and
Ooh.
there was a creek I could go to where, as a kid, I'd go catch like little crawfish or whatever they
Oh.
were. And things like that. And then as I got a little older, it's where I'd go, sneak off to have a cigarette and bring scope with me down my pants.
Yeah.
And,
Maybe carry some like a spray deodorant to get the
Yeah, or
cigarette
like a
smell off you.
Glade,
Yes.
like a fucking full Glade. I'd come back, she'd be like, "Where have you been?" I'd be like, "The creek." She'd be like, "You smell floral." I'd be like, "I was rolling around in some flowers, obviously, when I was down there. I got to go to my room and wash my hands." But it was great. I mean, probably similar to you. It was a very like, it was just easy. It was simple. I
Yeah.
really struggled with school a lot, but I always loved where I lived.
Yeah.
Even when I go back to Milwaukee for whatever reason, I'll always drive by my old house and feel something very like, oh.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Wisconsin is, first off, I truly feel like it is one of the most beautiful states
It is.
in the country. It's got so much going for it. But the thing we love about it here is just southern Wisconsin alone, I feel might be one of the weirdest historical places ever for UFOs, cryptids, ritual magic, the occult, true
what
crime.
does cryptids mean exactly?
Well, it's a.
I know I put a lot of money in cryptids. and
Yeah,
it's gone.
yes. It's the future, I tell you.
I guess that's what crypto will be called when it's over. Cryptids.
It will be. It doesn't really exist. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but a cryptid a Bigfoot would be a cryptid.
Okay.
A flying winged humanoid would be a cryptid.
What? Sorry.
Flying winged humanoid.
A winged. Okay. I think
Yeah,
it said
yeah, yeah.
weaned, and I was like,
Weaned.
Jesus Christ.
Ew,
Look at the
jeez.
dung on that. Okay. Flying winged. Got it.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like a monster in the woods, or it could be a
That's
lake
what they used
monster,
to call
too.
me.
Monster. Well,
But that was my Lifetime movie.
it didn't air.
No,
but
no,
I
no.
saw a cut of it with.
Well, they didn't want it.
You know what? I want to bring up. I want to bring up a little known fact. I bet you've never said this on a podcast. I hope this is an exclusive. You were. I remember when we first became friends. There, and this is when we were all starting to get some jobs and working.
I think I
you
know
know
where
where
this is
I'm going,
going,
you
but
know
I'm
where I'm going.
excited.
I remember talking to Gareth, and he was like, "Dude, I am like so close to getting getting the role of Robin Williams in a made-for-TV movie."
Yes.
On network. It was like an ABC movie, by the way, super cheap and low rent. And I remember seeing clips of it when it came out. But if I could like have a time machine and make one thing happen in our friendship, it would be that you would have gotten the role. Because I remember at the time you had come up with like an actual like legit great impression of Robin Williams. Like,
well, I was, it definitely was like me and two others.
you were like it was
but it was like a 7 or 8 callback one.
Yeah, you were up for it, man.
And there was a lot to it, and it was like there was some real serious shit, but you'd also have to be like, I don't know, I just don't know if it's all gonna pan out for me, and it would be hard to not. I would sometimes worry. I'd be going, I'd be like, oh, well, look out, and there was a lot to it. And then the actor is known who booked the role. And I remember I was on a plane years later, and I saw it on the plane options, and I thought,
Right.
oh, what? And I watched it. I was like, boy, he knocked it out of the park. It was very hard to act with an impression on that level, but yeah, I was. I mean, it was one of those ones where I was like, man, I was very close.
Can you
and then didn't get
imagine
it.
the joy it would have brought me to see you in a made-for-TV, which I don't think they do that anymore, but like in the early 2000s, that was kind of like the end of the made-for-TV movie, I think. But my God,
Yeah, they
it would have
kind
been
of were
amazing.
like, we're going into this project knowing it'll be pretty bad. Like that was the motto. They're like, we're really trying to make this not good, and
the
we're
way-
hoping it'll be pretty unwatchable.
The way those movies looked, they looked like a Canadian like soap opera.
Totally.
You know,
It was
there was like something off with like the.
They got
the
like
aspect
CBC
ratio.
cameras.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything's kind of like a soft focus. you
Yeah,
know, like,
yeah. Like the lighting guy was like, put a little more Vaseline on the lens and let's roll. Let's get out of here.
But Gareth, I want to ask you this: when you were growing up, were there any kind of urban legends, or did any of like the folklore of Wisconsin like creep into you and your friends like circle?
Not really, no. I mean, I also think with the time, it was so much more cut off. So,
Yeah.
I think like we knew there was stuff, but
Mhm.
never. I wasn't like you. I was never like,
Right.
fascinated by that sort of shit.
Going to UFO conventions by yourself at 9 years old?
Is that true?
Yeah. I went to my first. My mom dropped. Well,
At 9?
my dad. I was not parentless. My dad would take me because he taught at a university, and like every other month they would have the mutual UFO meetings at on his college campus, and his colleague was a member of MUFON. So my dad would every once in a while take me to those. In 7th grade, I got an independent study to leave 7th grade and go to these UFO meetings, and then I would write about it for my English teacher.
That's pretty awesome.
It was awesome. So yeah, I was a weird kid.
Yeah, I did not have that. I did not have that interest level
Weird.
And that sort of stuff. Yeah. I don't know what really consumed me at that age, but it wasn't that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's okay. You were just you
Yeah,
were
I was just
terribly weird.
No, but I was definitely weird. I was an only child, so I was like, I had an older brother, but it was like he was 12 years older, so I was like very latchkeyed.
Yeah, Nick is awesome.
The best.
Great. You have a great brother. Great brother.
Great brother.
Let me ask you this question. Is in Milwaukee, in the region you grew up with, is there a sandwich y'all are known for, or a dish that would be a signature of Milwaukee?
I'm trying to think. Well, bratwursts. It was like Friday fish fries were big, and then bratwursts, like kind of Polish, German, sausagey stuff was kind of
Sausagey
the thing.
stuff.
It really was. It was like
Yeah.
bratwursts were huge. Like that was what it was. It was very grilled, and
Yeah.
my first acting job was I was in a Johnsonville brat commercial that shot near my house, and I was like,
What?
got a very small little line in it, but I was like, holy shit.
Did that get you into the Screen Actors Guild?
No, I
No.
didn't do anything near that until I got out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing.
No, but no, I don't know if I'm trying to think like it's very. I mean, it's obviously like dairy, like cheese curds. There's a lot of that, but
Yeah.
I don't know if there was an exact like sandwich that we were known for.
Right, like Omaha, we're known for the Reuben. We invented the Reuben.
Oh,
so
is that right?
That's our
Yeah,
claim
I
to
don't think
fame.
we had that.
It's a fine sandwich.
Reuben
fine
sounds
sandwich.
New York.
It does. You would think so, but no. It was at the Blackstone Hotel in Omaha in the 40s, I think.
Huh.
Great sandwich.
A lot of people think it's a Bigfoot.
Well, that's controversial, Gareth.
Worth looking into.
My friend and friend of the show, Whitney McKeady, has a question for you.
Okay.
And is it your position that Jose is not a cryptid? If so, please provide evidence. I love this question already.
Well, he's not a cryptid. Here, I have a couple models of him I can use
Oh,
here.
okay, yeah.
But as you can
look-
see, very pink-nosed little boy. He's not a cryptid. I would imagine there would be more evidence of some sort of supernatural behavior from him, and there just isn't.
Right.
He's very food, like it's food-based. It's a
Yeah.
food-based life.
Yeah.
It's food, snuggles, sleep. That's it.
That's basically describing me.
Yeah, if it's very similar. It's very
Yeah.
similar. Plus the lisp, he
Yeah.
has that.
Well, I don't know if folks know, the role of my lifetime was playing Jose in a short-lived little series, Gareth.
You
would do.
booked that one, yeah.
I
Same
did.
amount of callbacks as the Robin
Yeah,
Williams
it
one.
was 7 to 8 callbacks. I'm like,
Yeah.
Gareth, you're one of my best friends in the world. Like, why are you making me? This should be straight
That's
off.
what makes it so hard. It's the network. It's the network. The network wants to go non-white, but I'm pushing.
Gary Bear, I want to ask you this question.
Go. And you were great as Jose.
Thank you. I really, I'm not trying to brag, but I feel it. I feel I did pretty well.
You did
But
great.
Gareth, Gare Bear, Geraldine Ferraro, as I like to call you.
Thank you.
Have you ever considered that perhaps, and I'm not saying this is true, okay, but perhaps that the UFO phenomenon doesn't necessarily represent aliens from another planet, but maybe something far more complex, or that there's actually a reality to Bigfoot, but it's not a relic flesh and blood hominid?
Well, only because of conversations I've had with you, where you've sort of you've started to get me into the dimensional thinking as far as Bigfoot being an interdimensional traveler, UFOs not necessarily. I mean,
Yeah.
UFOs are something that I 100% believe in.
Yes.
And maybe that's not the right term anymore. I don't know what they
think
like
there's
to
something
be called.
to
I don't
it?
want to get canceled.
No. We
no,
say
no, no.
UFO
I could
here.
get
We say
canceled.
UFO here.
Okay, UFO. Yeah, I definitely believe that, and I also believe. Well, I'm curious about this. Do you think there is an uptick in the visits we're getting from these whatever they are, or do you think we have phones so we're seeing them more? Because it definitely feels like to me one of two things is happening: either we're capturing it more, or they're more like, "What the fuck are you people doing?"
That is a great question. I think it's so tricky to determine that because, one, I think we have a lot more things flying. I think there's obviously way more drones, way more aircraft,
Right.
and I think there's Starlink, which I think is misrepresented as UFOs often. But like, there's a lot more stuff flying in the sky. I think so. I think a lot more of these things are probably mundane.
What
than
was
people
over
want to believe.
Jersey? Just drones?
I have no idea. Like, I'm not even convinced there was like a huge drone thing. I think a lot of it was hysteria, in my opinion. I think there was definitely drones. They were looking for something. Like, I think it could have been a military exercise that they were doing because it was over like
When I was a boy, that was a push-up.
But I don't know what the drone thing is. I think a lot of it. I think hysteria plays a bigger part in a lot of this stuff than people realize. Because one person will see something, then two people will see it, and then all of a sudden like 30 people see it, and maybe they're really seeing something. But like you can't discount hysteria. Because like when you hear about these things, you could see anything that's even quasi anomalous. It's gonna go, oh, it must be the UFO people are seeing.
Yeah, but so to answer your question, I have thought of that. You have gotten me thinking that. I think when you grow up, you think your brain can't really process the enormity of what things could be. And then now that I'm older, I definitely am like, it seems egomaniacal to be like, we're the only ones. It's absolutely bonkers to me to have science tell us about the endless possibilities of life or existence anywhere.
Yeah.
And for us to not even be able to... I remember as a child truly bending my own mind in bed thinking about how space goes on forever.
Me too.
I still have that sensation a little bit, but I was a kid and I was like, it doesn't end.
Yeah.
Like that.
What is
to me,
infinity?
it's crazy.
It is.
And then I just think you naturally kind of start going, well, yeah, that leaves. It's impossible for us to be it. And if we are, what a bed shitting.
Well, that's exactly true. I have a hunch, Gareth. It feels more like to me, in a weird way, that a lot of this stuff, a lot of these manifestations of high strangeness, may actually represent something that is more Earth-based and has been here with us forever, and it's just something that...
Are you talking about Bigfoot, or what are you talking
about? I'm kind of talking,
all
I
of
guess,
it.
just as a blanket term. I mean, if I picked it apart, like, maybe that doesn't explain Bigfoot, but maybe it does. Like,
but you think that explains UFOs? Because it's strange because you've gone...
I've gone so...
full
much,
circle.
I totally have. And here's the thing about UFOs, Gareth. And this is a quote from the wonderful Dr. Jeffrey Kripal. When you start looking into UFOs, like seriously looking into UFOs, for the first 2 years, you'll read UFO books. On year 3, you'll start reading about Arabian mystics from 2,000 years ago. Because UFOs are really more than just the craft and the UFO knots on the craft. I think they might be something bigger that is more about the nature of reality. This is all speculation. Ask me in a month and I'll have a totally new answer. But these are the ideas I like right now, I guess, is what I'm saying.
That to me is... feeling that it all comes from Earth is almost harder for me to fathom. But okay.
Right. But it would explain, I think it does explain some of... When you look at this stuff in antiquity, it's hard for me to rationalize that they're aliens from another planet visiting here in thousands of different kinds of craft, showing themselves of thousands of different kinds of creatures. That would, I mean, I guess that would like almost like lead you to believe like, wow, there's like 1,000 different kinds of aliens visiting Earth, which I'm like, I don't know.
See, I buy that.
Yeah, and that could be true. Maybe we're a way station and people are very interested here in this place.
I would think that if you're, it's like, if you want to see some fucking crazy shit, you know what I mean? Drive by a trailer park at midnight on a Friday. I think, like, we're the trailer park at midnight on a Friday. Like, they're like, oh, yeah, well, we can, travel through space and time and, all this stuff. And then they're like, you want to go see how not to do it?
Yeah.
And then they just come over here and they're like, here you go.
That's true. I mean, like, Gareth, I want to move on to a little thing I like to call ghosts. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
No.
Now, many people think the DPH theory explains ghosts, and that's the dead person hypothesis.
Mm-hmm. See, hypothesis, great word for you.
Great word.
Just great. The right amount of S's.
Yeah,
and it's got
really
a TH in it, so you're getting 3 THs.
Right.
For the price of one.
That's true. No. It's a good bargain for everybody.
Yeah.
But where do you feel like in terms of like spirits, like people experiencing stuff in their homes, little balls of light, or a shadow person, or your groceries being put away when you turn around and you didn't put them away, but somebody put it away.
That's happened?
Oh,
that person has dementia. That's what that is.
No. There's many. Well, I mean, maybe, but there are a lot of cases where someone will be, they come home from the grocery store. They have 7 bags of groceries. They put them all, or they put them all away. Then they go to pet their little doggy. They come back in the kitchen. Everything's back in the bags.
That's I want to do some follow-ups with them and do some sort of testing, math testing, memories. I just want to make them draw a clock and see what happens. But I definitely, again, I don't know what I believe. I wouldn't say I have a specific take, but I think that happens. Look, as you know, through a well-lived life of psychedelics in
many... we're going to get into that. Yeah, don't go too... Yeah, that's the next question.
Well, I definitely believe in there being far more beyond... I do podcasts from my house and go on the road. And I feel like we are part of something bigger. There is a galactic soup that we are an ingredient in.
Ooh,
And
whoa! I love that.
that's a kind of Lukey term. A friend of show, Luke Simmons, kind of
We
I
love
think said
Luke.
galactic soup. But I think that I am very open to it. I personally have not had that experience,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I don't know, but I also wouldn't be able to put a finer point on like, what is it? Why is it? What does
Yeah.
it mean?
Right.
It seems strange to me that we probably, like in my head, like we kind of, leave our bodies and kind of get back in the mix, have a stir,
Yeah.
pop out somewhere else. DMT will teach you some versions of
It
that.
sure will, won't it?
So then I wouldn't be able to go, oh, well, this is why you remain here, or
Mhm.
why you're here, or whatever. But again, the interdimensional stuff could also be a player in that. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like what you said. Kind of. So it almost sounds like you would like the idea. And I'm not saying you believe it. Like belief requires an act of faith, which I don't. It's always kind of sometimes hard to put that in.
Sure.
Some of these things we don't understand fully. but-
Specificity bothers me when it comes to a lot of this stuff.
Me too.
No, the
certainty.
knowledge, the
Yeah.
certainty, exactly.
Yeah, the certain. I mean, when anyone's certain about this stuff, like this is what this is, I'm usually like, It's
Yeah.
kind of, and I just kind of moonwalk away from the conversation.
Yeah, right. Boy,
Have you ever
that's
seen
a-
me moonwalk?
No, I haven't. But
Really?
no. If I saw that, I would think that was an interdimensional traveler.
I'll get you some video of me moonwalking.
Do not send me anything
Yeah,
near that.
no. Checks in the mail, babe.
I don't. What?
Yeah. So, but that's. But what you were kind of saying earlier is you sort of like the idea of the wheel of life.
Yes.
Which kind of like David Lynch had a great way of describing it, where he said like you're driving in a car, and then you don't want to be in the car anymore. The car broke down, so you get out of that car and you hop right into a new one, until you reach like an enlightenment phase, and then you're done learning and your education's over.
Yeah, I certainly something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's strange because the world we live in now, the country we live in now, at the time we
Mhm.
live in, it really does make you wonder, why? Because it seems like throughout our like I'm writing a Dollop right now. That's just
We love
fucking-
the Dollop. A lot of Dollop fans.
Love the Dollop.
They love the Dollop.
and
Ryan
and,
Fouch, give a shout out to Ryan Fouch. Ryan
What's
Fouch,
up,
is a big
Fauci?
Dollop fan.
Fauci,
Yeah,
Fauci.
Fauci loves Dollop.
But you and I mean Dave teaches this throughout the years of the show that the compulsion of man, it seems more than anything, to get all the resources, get all the everything, own everything, be able to make people's lives a little more miserable for just more of something that they already have.
Yeah,
Trying to find your way through that with a personal belief or passion for existence is very difficult.
Mhm.
And but you are running up against evil, greedy fucks all the time who
Yeah.
ruin everything for everybody.
Yeah.
And then you kind of are just watching like the misery trickle down. I mean, that's really what ends up happening. So, you kind of you want to define your purpose or your journey as one of, like, for lack of a better term, love, connection, empathy,
Yes.
and so much gets in the way of that. And even it's so easy to get it all mucked up, but I can't really. I'm never able to really go, oh, it's all about this, but it does seem like, like the energy that is right is a dog comes up to you, you pet it, the dog's happy. Those exchanges in whatever way you can do it is really what it's like to be a being, and what you should just try to do. Connect, make people
Yes.
feel good, be selfless. And unfortunately, in the world we live in now, money is really the currency of love to some extent.
Yep.
And it really cheapens the whole experience. And so your options are either wilt and have rage, which is a fine option,
Yeah.
or push and try to thrive and do as much good as you can to counter the evil.
Yeah. Beautifully put, and I think you're a shining example of doing that by being you are a part of two beautiful podcasts that do exactly that. I mean, they make not only that, but especially like the Dollop, where it's like this is an education. It's almost like we're taught a version of history, right? That is written by the winners, right? But the Dollop, I think, has done this thing where it's like it's more of like a people's history of the United States, Howard Zinn version of history.
Completely.
Where it's like,
Dave Seitz Zinn is like the guy who broke his brain.
Well, it's funny because Jake and I were recording yesterday, and Jake actually gave me that book.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like 15 years ago, and that not radicalized me, but that completely changed my life. That book.
Yeah, that book is.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Can't recommend reading it enough. Like even if you're not like a
No,
whatever way you lean, it's an important book to read no matter
it
what you're
grabs
political.
you very quickly. Before we were Republicans and Democrats, we were pieces of shit too. So
yes,
you can go learn about it.
Well, that kind of brings me to this, and I'm not saying I believe this. I don't know if I even believe in the concept of dark forces, but it almost makes you wonder. We keep repeating these same mistakes. The fall of Rome, even before Rome, like these are just these cycles of world dominance, and then
acquisition of everything at the cost of everyone,
and then it turns over every couple hundred years to but like, and this sounds, I'm not trying to sound like woo woo here, but like, do you think like there is some dark force or something pushing, because it seems so like antithetical to, like, I can't really conceive how you would want to be a person like that, like a person like Elon Musk, like what's the joy there, like like.
There is no joy. I mean, the people who are at the helm of the everything right now are the most damaged in a way that is the worst for how it's all set up.
Yeah.
So, you have a guy who grew up in apartheid South Africa who realized his life was made easier by indentured servitude, and that was appealing to him, as well as believing that he's superior. Combine that with, a damaged upbringing. I mean, Jesus Christ, dads, hug your kids.
Yeah, right.
But I think the system that we subscribe to is one that just favors selfishness on a level that I don't think most people have. Look, most people are pretty fucking straightforward. Like, they just want to be happy and have comfort. But I would relate it to, like, when I knew I wanted to pursue entertainment. Something happened as I was a kid that did not give me the affection on a level that I needed.
Right.
That combined with enjoying the hit of dopamine I get with a laugh or feeling entertaining lit a fire inside of me, and that made me go, well, I want to go to LA and be famous and get money and have people love me, and I don't have time for those people. Like, that is how it starts.
Yeah.
It's just your job as an adult is to balance yourself out and go, Jesus Christ, dude, chill. You know, these Bezoses, the Elons, the Trumps, whatever they are, they're trying to capture all of it at the cost of everyone. Yeah. And they're celebrated for doing it. So there are failings on every level. That is a familial failing. That is a societal failing. Mm-hmm. And that's just the way that we set up.
It's a system failing too.
Everything has failed everybody, and the biggest pieces of shit just make their own lives better. Having a $500 million yacht when people can't find homes. Yeah. To most humans is disgusting. Yeah. And I think you've just slowly watched our society lean into why America especially lean into like why it's awesome to be the $500 million yacht guy.
You can too. The American dream exists for you.
So
who's buying that propaganda anymore, right?
So I don't know if I think I think it is evil, but it's also they are so unaware of that it I don't know. I don't know if that's too simple or even too complicated.
No, I mean, I think it might be just as simple as that. That's what my money would bet on. But then there's parts of me that's like, this feels so antithetical to like the way I feel. I'm like,
I
there
know.
must be some external force like at work that we don't know about.
Honestly,
you know?
it would be a relief if there were, because
I know.
there's kind of some comfort in the idea that we could maybe find the off switch to all of this,
Right.
instead of the fact that what is the Rensselaers, like, you know, when they first came to America, they were just like, oh yeah, well, that's my land, you pay me for it. It's like people are like, the fuck are you talking about? Like,
Yeah,
it just
what?
you know, truly, Dave one time on the Dollop said, if you want to save America, let's say,
Yeah.
return the land and the way to rule it to the Native Americans.
Yep.
Who, there's an argument that calling them Indians is a more appropriate term now,
Mm-hmm.
but let's go back to their system.
Right.
That was a system where there was currency was, for the most part, was, you know, sharing versus owning.
Right. Right. It's like, you know, that's exactly true. And also they had a lot, you know, they had democracy in a lot of these situations. And women were a lot of times like propelled to the top and like leaders of these, like, you know, tribes and stuff like that.
You
Like,
need,
they were
listen,
way more advanced in so many
masculine
ways.
energy has become, you know, I wouldn't even say is toxic, is seen as toxic because the people who you see the most out of that are men are toxic.
Yes.
There's probably a world where there's a nice balance where we play to each other's strengths in
Right.
those ways, you know, but there's no doubt that the lack of feminine influence and energy and what we have going on is an enormous mistake.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. Gareth, let me ask you this question. Lately I've been hot on this concept, and it's kind of an ancient concept. Carl Jung referred to it as the shadow self, and many other cultures, the kind of like a catch-all for it is the dweller in the threshold.
Sure.
And that kind of means, you know, like for the listeners and you if you don't know, but like it's that we have this shadow self, this version of ourselves that we are in this lifetime at battle with.
Yeah.
And it's almost, you could almost call it your ego if you wanted to, but you know, ancient cultures said like there's literally like a doppelganger of yourself that you are at battle with up until the end. You know, and I wonder, like, you know, and I'm almost speaking more metaphorical terms, right? Not literally that there is a, you know, dark Gareth.
Sure.
Although
love
I've
it.
met him a couple times.
I love it. Yeah.
But I mean, does that resonate with you at all? That kind of concept where it's like, and I guess it would almost say like you get in your own way. The whole thing about life is to like free yourself of like this version of yourself that's holding you down or keeping you not from achieving certain things in life. What any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I think, you know, ego is a way that I kind of always frame a version of it. Look,
Yeah.
having an ego is a good thing. It's a healthy ego that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think, you know, when we talk about Bezos or any of these fucking assholes, you know, the ego is out of control. You know, so I do think there are ways, like my ego in my lifetime has been insane.
Yeah.
And then my ego has, through learning, through
To kill it?
yeah, or at least
Yeah.
wrangle it.
Yeah.
And just be like, recognize when your ego is doing damage to you. Social media is a very good construct to kind of hold your ego up and go, where's it at?
Yeah.
There's always someone who's got it better. There's always someone who's got it worse. What side are you focusing on is either healthy, when in reality, it's like, if social media were a society, you should not be checking out how anyone else's followers are doing. Just, are you getting something out of it that makes you feel good and
Right.
makes others around you feel good? And so no, the ego battle is totally real.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially like entertainment. I mean, you know, as two guys who have lived in it for so long,
Yeah.
it can really fuck people up. And what did we
Yeah.
do? We were like, let's make everyone in entertainment. It's like, oh fuck! So now everyone,
That's a good
everyone
point.
is like trying to compete in this unhealthy system set up for damage and failure from the get. It's not your dad's hug, and it never will be.
That is so. I never thought about like that. It's like, because as we know, it's like when you, especially you're young in the business, trying to be in comedy or acting or do anything in the entertainment business, you really have to have this almost like this kind of like even if you don't believe it, you have to like convince yourself I have this huge ego and I am confident and I can do it and I'm better than everyone else on stage, just to like maybe get your foot in the door.
You have to find a balance. You have to find a balance of being good and confident.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah. I'm sorry, but because I think you were segueing into this a moment ago. But how have you learned to keep your ego and the dweller on the threshold in check? You alluded to some psychedelic experiences that might have been a player. Speaking of, this actually brings up a question from my friend Whitney McKeedy again. Is it your position that... I'm sorry. I was reading the wrong one. No.
Is that the same one?
No. This is different. So she is wondering, Whitney is wondering, if Gary's... I love that she called you Gary, by the way.
I hate it, but go ahead.
I love it. That is your name.
No ego, it's fine.
AKA Geraldine Ferraro.
Thank you. Garcy Buckets.
Garcy Buckets. Just shout out to Ryan Gall, which is my favorite nickname for you of all time. Garcy Buckets. Oh my God. We love Ryan Gall. Is it your... Okay. Sorry.
Jesus
Wondering
Christ.
if Gary's ayahuasca experiences opened him up more to the weird. It certainly did for her.
Oh, yeah. Completely. The first time I did ayahuasca was I remember...
You called me, remember, like, I think 24 hours. I asked you, call me 24 hours after it happens, after you've had time to sit with it.
Well, I just remember when I was starting to... I mean, I'd had an interest in it for a long time, and then one day I just threw on a documentary about it, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I got to do this. And I reached out to a friend of mine. I guess I won't say who it is, but...
No.
Good
man, though.
Great man, and he was super helpful. He got me involved in the culture, and I remember before I was going into it, like I was expecting something out of it for sure, but he sent me the Kramer gif where Kramer's going poosh, like his mind's being blown.
Right.
And I was like, can it be on that level? And it was. It really... I didn't go in with too much expectation.
Good.
And it was so fundamentally, like, it changed. I would love to have a scan of my brain before and a scan of my brain after, because it completely changed so much for me. So much. And yeah, I mean, I went into that 100% an atheist, and I came out of it to believe what we talk about now, which is that, like, look, we're a part of some bigger web or structure or something that is, there is a large connection to everyone and everything. The space between us is potentially not there, and and all of that. So as ego-wise, all these other things, it just took it and it fucking threw it on the ground and then kind of T-1000 back together in a different form. And yeah, so it definitely, it made me be like, it made me go from like, oh, I pretty much know everything, to like I was like Bill Maher. I was like, take your God and get out of here, you know? And then it was like, after that, I was like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened back there?
Yep.
So completely blew it up.
After I had my similar experience, I remember walking out and walking outside. We remember that trip. We were all in Joshua Tree, of course.
Yeah, you're talking about a non-ayahuasca, but close to it.
But it was the same thing.
Ayahuasca Cliff Notes.
Yeah, it was. It was the 15-minute version.
Yeah.
But, I remember walking out. By the way, we were with each other.
Yes.
You literally.
I was
You're my Sherpa.
I was your guide.
You're my guide.
Shaman, not your Sherpa.
Shaman.
Carry my backpack while I smoke this.
I mean, you're my Sherpa, and I usually make you carry my stuff anyway.
I love it, though. Yeah.
But I remember standing up, walking outside, and seeing Evan Mann out there. And Evan's like, he just kind of looked at me, he's like, well, and I go, well, and that first thing I said to him, well, I'm not an atheist anymore. And that was my first words that came out of my mouth afterwards. I was like, well, I was wrong about that. Like, and it was clear cut where it's like not like a thing I believe, it's a knowing. There's something about like, not all psychedelics and not all psychedelic trips, but like every once in a while you get that knowing where it's like, I can't explain to you why I know this for sure, but I do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that, I'm always. I went into my first ayahuasca thinking I knew it all, so I was like, I'm never going to think I know it all again. I just have themes and shades that I believe to be true. You know, I think however you get your personal edicts to be what they are, if they are about being good to everyone in a way that you can be, that's pretty much good enough to me. And that's kind of from like all of it. Like,
Yeah.
like when you like the Jesus is like, they've taken this in a whole new direction. Like the guy wasn't a merch guy. You know what I mean? He was just like, you need sandals. And it was like, that was awesome. And instead now they're like, well, for $40. So
Yeah, exactly.
the general kind of heart of all of that is always to be like just gentle, good, helpful, kind, whatever. Take minutes
Yeah.
to be, take minutes out of yourself and put them to save someone else some minutes. And that's just really, how you do it. But yeah, I mean, when you do psychedelics, you feel the interconnectivity in a new way that is, it's hard to, you just kind of can't go back. I mean, you just
Yeah.
kind of go, well, yeah, I mean, that's that. And I kept thinking about that Kramer gif after my first time. I was like, yeah, literally my brain exploded. I had a ayahuasca ceremony like a week ago.
Yeah.
And,
you were doing that special diet where you weren't eating salt.
Not only no salt, no
Yeah,
anything.
you were eating nothing.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
And once again, just had the I meant to call you. It was the
Yeah.
craziest one I've had. I mean,
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was just totally nuts. And then application of these things back into the real world is really hard sometimes. This one's
Yeah.
really hard.
Uh-huh.
But you do that stuff because it's almost like, you're trying to grow all the time, but these are ways where you kind of walk away and you go, okay, I got five notes,
Right. Right.
self notes,
I wanted to bring this up. Before we hit record, I was kind of telling you I wanted to touch upon this, but like I've been thinking about your life in the last 10 years, right? And it's been, professionally, you've had a great life. Like you are, a well-known stand-up all over the country. Even out of the country. I mean, you have a big following in Australia. You'll go there for like 2 months and do shows, and it's incredible. And you've worked so hard. I think you saw the writing on the wall like before a lot of us did in terms of like, I need to be doing stand-up in these podcasts. Like you really are, in terms of like our friend group, the pioneer. Like you were the great explorer. Where I was pretty comfortable sitting back in the traditional audition for a job, get the job, wait around, and do that. And
Yeah.
you were so smart to do it the way you did it.
Well,
But-
to be fair, a lot of that was birthed out of rejection of the old system where it was like they would have you more than me. So I was like, well, shit, if they're not going to have me,
You got to create your own thing.
yeah,
Well,
I'll have me.
but it's smart. I mean, what a way to create longevity and be in control of your
Yeah,
career.
yeah.
Because the entertainment business, let me tell you, folks, if you can have any semblance of control of your career, it's a small miracle. Like,
Yes.
So but that's always the thing when I look at your career. I'm like, oh man, he just did it right. How wonderful. But one thing I wanted to say is like the last 10 years, we've been friends. It's like you have led, without a doubt, the most liminal life I know of. You are constantly on the road, either doing stand-up, touring with the Dollop. You are always moving. You are bouncing around from place to place. And here at High Strangeness headquarters, one thing we like to talk about is liminality, because liminality is often associated with high strangeness. People, when they're moving, will experience high strange activity when people lose their job or in the flux in life. And not that you're having these big kind of like life-changing moments every time you go to a new city, but you are bouncing around. Like, one day I'll talk to you like one day you're in Detroit, the next day you're in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yes.
And these are like in the middle, you like to drive in this van, to keep it easy, and this is how you'd like to roll. But Is there like is there a difference between like your perception and a feeling inside when you're on the road and you're in constant flux in these liminal stages as when you, because like, you're rarely home for more than a week. Like, what is the difference? Do you feel like you're in this liminal zone where things are a little odd and weird, or
Oh,
is
yeah.
that not yeah?
Well, I don't even know if in the. Do you mean more in like the kind of otherworldly supernatural sense, like the
Well,
high?
you know, I don't necessarily mean like you're in this high strange realm, but I mean like things. You know, there's a guy named Dr. George Hansen. He was like a Brown professor, but he wrote a book on the paranormal, and he said like
we don't need to bring race into
right. But he really thinks that he puts forward that these liminal states are what precipitates high strangeness loss. And I'm not saying I know you would have told me if you would have had an experience, but like, do you feel different? Is there like a different kind of like lens that you see through when you're in these kind of like on the road and travel a lot for work?
I mean, personal energy wise, completely different, obviously. I mean, you know, I mean, I'm about to go on the road tomorrow, and
Yeah.
you know, the energy I feel the day before, or the couple days, or the 5 days before I leave, is probably the hardest one, because it's like, ugh, I gotta go. There's this, I think at least in anecdotally, people are like, oh, you love it, you know what I mean, or whatever. It's like, I love performing,
Yeah.
and there is a very straight. I can't remember the lead singer of Queens of the Stone Age, his name.
Josh Homme.
Josh Homme. He has this thing he said to Anthony Bourdain once, which I always think about, which is that he was like, you know, when you're on the road, you can't wait to get home, and when you're home, you can't wait to get on the road. You
Yeah.
kind of, I identify with that in many ways. I also really like being home.
You do.
I really do. I want to be home more. I have like May kind of off. I have July kind of off. Like, I'm very excited for that. I've just went on. I honestly didn't even see this time having the downtime I had just now at home. But I was home for almost a month, which is nuts for me.
Yeah.
So home is a completely different energy. Road is nuts. Road is, especially when you're, like you said, I travel in a van. I have like a fucking kitchen and a big Tupperware thing that I carry around with me, like
It's
a
a
hot
great-
plate of It's nuts.
yeah. I love it though.
So that I can stay as healthy as possible and all that. But it's very, it's frantic.
Yeah.
The energy is frantic. It's packing up every day. It's unpacking every night. It's fucking, you know, it gets old.
Yeah.
But I do think it kind of opens you up to. I kind of think a lot about Men in Black when it's like, oh, they're here. They're just in like human suits.
Mhm.
Like, I'll go around and you'll meet some characters, some people where you're like, there's something off
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And in that way, I do feel like I mean, there's some like, you know, Flying J truck stops you'll stop at where you'll be like, it feels like another planet,
Right.
you know? And,
Yeah, you feel like you're. It almost feels like unreality a little bit.
yeah, it's very strange, and everyone's kind of anyone who's at a Flying J or a, you know, whatever at like 11:30 on a Tuesday, it's like something's off with them. They're either they're doing something's weird, you know. So you definitely see a lot of that, and as well as like you were saying, it's like you do also like. I remember because I moved to Idaho for a year, right around when you moved to Nebraska. We actually had a Zoom drink session
We had a handful of them.
but we had one where it was like, you know, I was kind of like, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we all started going like, we should all get out of here.
Yeah.
You, Luke, and I,
Yeah, that's
and-
when we all decided to make moves.
and we all moved. And
Yeah.
But I spent a year in Idaho, and I would be going out into these the woods, and I would be snowshoeing up to hot springs alone a lot of the time, and I would feel so fucking small in these
Yeah.
forests, and I was like, this is how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah.
Tiny, little.
Yeah.
And I think that when I drive a lot of times, I'll be driving, like Utah is a crazy state,
It's
but man,
gorgeous.
it's the drive a lot of times just how it times out, I'll be driving through Utah as it's just getting dusky and turning into night. And I'll be like, it's just beautiful. Your phone stops working.
Unreal.
You feel tiny. It literally feels like someone just dynamited a road through a mountain, which is what happened. and you feel small. And a lot of places in the country you'll drive through and you go, it's beautiful. It's just where we aren't. Where we aren't is gorgeous. Where we are is disgraceful, disgusting. What a fuck up. Why do we have to have a Wendy's on a Chevron? You know, but it is, in that way, it does kind of open you in ways that I think just staying in your town or your city just doesn't.
Yeah.
Just seeing it all often is very interesting, and it does make you feel smaller and part of something bigger.
Right.
And you see a lot of weirdos.
Right, and you miss that when you travel by plane, right? When you travel by plane,
Yeah.
I really have kind of like you in the last like 3 or 4 years, even when I'm like driving to LA for like work or something like that, I will, if I have time, I will drive there as opposed to fly. One, it's like this great gift to myself afterwards. So I'll stop in all these places where like UFOs landed, you know, see my weirdo stuff. But it is so wonderful just to get on the road. And I feel like I'm in between, like I'm not in normal reality, but I'm in some kind of in-between state, which
Well, if you're
is
gonna
pleasant.
auction off your time to a company and you're paying them, the expectation should be that they're going to take that with some brevity and
Yeah.
treat you well. That has just stopped when it comes to flying.
Yeah.
So the feeling I get when I'm flying, I mean, absolutely. Am I going to make it from Seattle to LA in a third of the time? More, of course. But how is that time going to feel? Awful.
Yeah. It's going to feel
going
awful.
to feel like human luggage.
Yeah.
I am going to, my stomach's going to hurt. I'm going to have to piss. I'm going to be dehydrated. I'm going to
Yep.
be tired. I'm going to be stressed out.
Yeah.
Whereas when you drive, I show up, I'm tired. I'm back, I'm tired. But I also have had my fate in my hands, and I treat my time better than fucking Delta.
Absolutely. You're in control. And like,
Yeah.
I always think like nowadays, the last time I've taken a trip for pleasure and I've flown, like the first day and a half, I'm like grumpy.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah,
whole
you feel
time
like
I'm there,
shit.
you feel
Yeah.
like shit. Like flying makes you feel like shit. And then the whole time I'm thinking, oh, I have to fly home eventually.
Oh, the stress of that. Well, you know what else? The other thing is this. If I'm going to fly, I'm going to leave first flight out, because if you leave early, your first flight, the odds of it getting fucked up go way down if it's
Yeah.
the first time the plane's being used. The
Right.
plane's there at night at some point.
Yeah.
The plane has fucking 12 hours to get there,
Yeah.
10 hours to get there. That's a much better chance that your plane is going to be at your gate when you leave, which is becoming a huge problem.
Yeah.
So if you're doing that, you're probably going to have a connection. But that first flight, you can kind of lock in a little bit.
Yeah.
The
at least
earlier you get
yeah.
it out of the way, the complications drop more and more. But that requires you getting up at 3:30 in the fucking morning. Then the day before, to get your boarding group right, you got to fucking get up at 5:30 for that. So they're not just like shoving it in you for one day. The
Right.
day before, they want to fuck you up.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they're giving you the energy for 24 hours of, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck. Getting there, getting through security, all that shit, it just sucks so much. Whereas, I'm like, all right, I'm going to leave at 8.
Yeah.
And I'll drive all fucking day. Again, not ideal.
No.
But you are disconnecting in a way that's probably healthy.
I
you
think
are
so too.
you have your time in your hands. It just
Yep.
is a far better feel.
Yep. So look, it's been an hour. Gareth has to go, but you are coming back for a part 2 because
Yeah,
I
we'll do
haven't-
a 2-part.
I haven't even. I have
We
a
should make it a
story-
cliffhanger.
Well, okay. Here it is. I'm going to tell you a story about 4 flying wizards that visited someone's house in about 10 minutes from where you grew up in 1975.
Oh, man,
It's
now
one
we
of
have
the
to do a
weirdest
part 2.
stories ever.
I'll be
and-
honest, I was lying. There wasn't going to be a part 2, but now there is going to be a part 2.
No,
Holy
you
shit. 4 wizards.
4 wizards, man, in
Oh,
your
the
neighborhood.
4 Wizards of Wisconsin is a movie.
Exactly. No, they have staffs and everything, man. It's beautiful.
Well, you can't do it all on your own. You need people working under you.
Yeah. Well.
Oh,
we'll
staffs. I get it.
Well, staff. Yeah. Oh God. Good. Leave us with the dad joke. That's the dad joke.
Come on.
Listen,
I must have kids out there somewhere with this sense of humor.
you do, and then we can also tell the story next time about when I was convinced that we got Bigfoot in Maine.
Oh God. Yeah.
You know,
Great.
We have a lot of fun stories, and we can talk about the coyote that was weird in Griffith Park.
We should also do the we know the clown, just for fun.
That's my favorite.
Well,
story
ayahuasca is very. I'll say this very quickly. The last time I did ayahuasca, recently, you talk about coyote. Coyote's kind of the jester of the.
It is
of the like supernatural in a way.
It's a totem.
Coyotes,
yes.
Yeah. So I'm trying to leave the place where I was, and I'm packing up, and I'm there for 24 hours. I mean, I bring an ungodly amount of stuff, because I'm like, what if I, want my eye mask? Everything's coming with me.
Yeah.
I might need a backup water bottle in a suitcase. It's like how a kid packs. Like when you see a kid with like a Spider-Man suitcase, you're like, what's in there? And it's like marbles. It's like I'm packing, and it's like just a bunch of random shit. But
might need my slingshot.
yeah, a picture of my dad. Like, what? You never know. I know. But so I have all that packed up, and I can't find my little wallet. I'm going, where the fuck's the little wallet, And the shaman is expressing, the coyote could be a coyote at play.
The trickster.
And they were the people who were there were like, I'm very impressed with how you're handling this. And I'm like, well, if you're gonna lose everything, what better time than immediately on the heels of an ayahuasca? Because I'm like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a nightmare that I'll go
Small
through for the
potatoes.
day. Yeah, it'll be hell. I need that stuff soon.
Yeah.
But on my drive home, which is probably about a 4-hour drive, I just, as I'm driving through the mountains, fucking sure enough, there's I tore my bags apart. I see a coyote just standing there on the side of the road, and we were talking about coyote that morning and all that, and I see a coyote, and I go, I have to have it.
Yeah.
It's a little joke. And
Yeah.
sure enough, get home, and when I'm able to throw everything out, just in a bag that I shredded 4 to 5 times when I was at the place, it's just sitting right there. And I thought,
really?
yeah, and I was like, that fucker.
Well, I'm writing this down because this means we are going to spend some time discussing the trickster archetype, my friend. And the coyote is oftentimes associated with the trickster archetype. So you're onto something real hot. I think you had experience with the trickster. Gareth Reynolds,
Can't
we
wait.
love you so much, buddy. You're one of my best friends in the world. I couldn't love you more.
Oh, no. And I am very, and by the way, you talk about, carving your own path and finding your own way and all that. It's all pivoting. It's just, when do you want to do it? And you are doing it in a great way. And
thank you.
Very proud of you and what you're building.
Thanks, buddy.
You're a great
you're
guy.
so sweet. Gareth is so sweet. Whenever I do stand up, I don't do it a lot, but I always have a Zoom with Gareth and run my set for him, and he punches my jokes up. I mean, we help each other out, babe. We're a team. We're a team.
Babes. We're babes, babe.
We're a couple babes, babe. Folks, thank you so much for listening to another episode of High Streams. Gareth, will you tell everyone to enjoy their dinner tonight, please?
Yes, listen, for the love of God, what are you going to do? Sit there and have a bad time? It's dinner. Enjoy it. Eat up your dinner. Enjoy it.
Nailed it. A+ performance. No notes. Cut print. We're Mr. Happy.
Mr. Happy. The lasagna. I've got cheese on top. What is it?
I think part 2 you should just do in Robin Williams. Let's just do that.
Willard Scott. Where is he? Great Scott. I don't know. He's gone. Maybe he isn't.
Keep on doing Robin Williams as I sign us off. And,
okay.
Go.
Enjoy your dinner. Oh, supper. Why would they call it supper?
Folks, thanks for listening
That's
to
how I
another
greet my
episode
breakfast.
of High
Hey, supper.
Strangeness.
How are you?
Enjoy your dinner.
Hey, what's supper?
Tonight.
Oh, I don't know. Well, here we go. Could be